Welcome to the Game is Evolved podcast. My name is Tracy Suggs, and this month is Brain Injury Awareness Month. And in sports, there's nothing more important than quality coaches that care. And this week, we're talking to Coach Bobby Paz, and he is a coach that cares. The Game Has Evolved podcast. We want to welcome you. And this is where we allow individuals that are making a great impact in our communities, business, sports, or just all around every day making an impact on the people in our communities. We give them a chance to share their stories. And today we have another great one.
Today's guest is Coach Bobby Paz, a native of Washington, D.C., proud husband, devoted family man. He's an active member of Fellowship of Christian Athletes, where faith, family, and football have been the foundation of his life and leadership. Coach Paz has built a legacy excellence in North Carolina, winning multiple state football championships across 3 different high schools. His impact on the game has earned him an induction into several college and high school Hall of Fames. We're honored to have him today. Today we welcome Coach Bobby Paz. Welcome to the podcast.
Coach.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Man, thanks for having us and allowing us to be here with you. And
I didn't have to do the dishes tonight. It's okay.
That's a positive. If you didn't have to do the dishes, that's a positive.
Yes, sir.
So, Tracy, start out.
Well, Coach Paz, we're talking about that word that a lot of people don't want to use, a legacy. Okay, that's what you have now, legacy. And we kind of talked about that before we started this conversation. But if you look back, take us back to the beginning. We always like to go back to the beginning. Where did you grow up, and what was life like for a kid growing up in Washington, D.C.?
Well, that's great memories going back. Don't think about it very often. You know, at this stage of the game, you move on to your family and your grandkids and stuff. But when you ask me to think about growing up in D.C., I loved growing up in metropolitan D.C. I lived in the Landover area. We were about 4 miles from the district. We were inside the Beltway. It's suburban, big city suburban. I would say most houses were middle class or slightly below middle class. Okay. Lots of kids. Not a lot of money anywhere. People looked after each other. You need a cup of sugar, or you need something neighborly wise, you would just pick it up. The next door lady treated you like your own son, and if you got in trouble, you got in trouble from her too. So it was kind of a neat family-oriented process. We started out in an apartment complex. My dad drove a bus for DC Transit, and on his off days and extra hours, he painted, hung storm doors and windows to make enough money to try to put a little food on the table and keep the lights on. So, you know, we grew up with not much, but we had a lot.
You had one another, though.
You know, we had families, we had relationships, we had just, you know, learn to get along, fight with your best friend, get a bloody nose, come home, wake up the next day, go look for him, go play again. You know, it was just a fun way to grow up. I had great memories of growing up in the Washington area. We moved from Hyattsville into Palmer Park, where Sugar Ray Leonard, we talk about the name guy, Sugar Ray Leonard, world champion boxer, grew up on 84th Avenue. Now, I didn't live on 84th Avenue when Sugar Ray was on it. Otherwise, he might not have made it. No, I'm teasing. But
that's what you call a jab.
Yeah, Sugar Ray ain't gonna bother me about that right now. But he's probably been joked around a lot. But right down the end of the street, 84th Avenue, is Wilson Farm. Can you imagine that? 4 miles out of the district, there was still farmland out there then, and that farmland became the home of the Washington Redskins. Now, I'm a native DC guy, so I've never said the word commander, but it was born and raised a Redskin fan. I fight song them and hail to the Redskins, and I'm still counting on the day when they go back to the traditional of the Redskins. So we were Redskin fans, and it was a fun time to grow up in that area.
Okay, so as a standout athlete, what was playing sandlot football in Palmer Park? What was most that you remember about those games of playing sandlot?
I was a baseball guy, and I was at the age back then. Youth football was run by the boys clubs. Boys clubs established age and weight, And for my age, I was always over the weight limit to play tackle football. So we played with the guys, on the vacant land area. So we'd go out and just learn to play football. We tackled each other without equipment.
We grew up doing the same thing.
And we grew up playing football that way. I didn't get to play organized until I got to junior high. We didn't have middle school, junior high, 7, 8, and 9. I made the junior high team in the 7th grade, and I was a quarterback. And I had a good arm, and the coach knew I could throw. He didn't know if I was any good or not, but I could throw a football. So he kept 5 7th graders on the junior high team with 8th and 9th graders. So I did play organized football. I was on the team. 7th graders don't play much, and when you got 8th and 9th graders. But I was on the team, and I played basketball, and I played baseball for the boys clubs, and then at the junior high level, I was a part of it. I never played tackle football until I got to high school.
Wow.
So that was with equipment, with an organized team and plays and stuff. So I wasn't that familiar with the way the process took place, because when you're in junior high, sports always started when school started. I didn't know football started before high school started. A couple weeks before school starts in high school, they start practice. And one of my buddies comes by and he says, "Hey Bobby, you going to practice today?" And I go, "Practice? Practice for what?" He says, "They're starting at Duval today. They're starting football practice." I said, "No, they're not." And he says, "Yeah, they always start early before school." I go, "Well, how are we going to do it?" And he says, "Well, let's go." So we hitchhiked. Back in that day, it was 5 miles to the high school from our home. We jump on the highway, get out front, thumb it, 2 rides, we're at the high school. People picked each other up. And so we hitchhiked in school. I show up, and there's over 200 boys in the stadium bleachers, all sitting there, ready to go. And the coach has got information. He says, "Now, if you don't have a physical, you can't go. You got to have a sports physical." And so about every 10th grader there didn't know that. So we were there, but we didn't have physical. So he said, "You got 3 days. If you don't have a physical on the 3rd day, don't come back." So he gave us our papers, go get physicals, come back. Well, we get back, and the equipment's been issued out to all the juniors and seniors and some sophomores, and I'm in line. By the time we get to me, they're out of helmets. Which, there was guys behind me, but I had shoulder pads and the rest of the equipment. And we went out to practice, and I was on the edge. I went from quarterback. I said, "I'm going to try this linebacker job." That sounds like a good position. I didn't,
linebacker job.
I want to be a linebacker. That sounds like tough. I knew I wasn't fast enough to be in the backfield, and I didn't want to play on the line. There's no fun to be down there on the line. So I line up. I'm on the edge. Ball comes around the outside. I got on everything but a helmet, and I'm looking here because the guy was running the ball, and I went, "Well, I guess I better tackle him." So I went over and hit him. Laid
no
one
helmet.
No helmet. No. And the coaches went crazy. "Hey, we found one. We love this guy." He says, "We'll get you a helmet." I did it only because I didn't know any better. Not that I wanted to, but I hit the guy.
But you got a helmet.
They got me a helmet, so I got a helmet.
Hit him with no helmet to get a helmet.
And that showed him that maybe he does think like a linebacker.
Yeah.
So I got to play linebacker in the 10th grade on JV, and then I gained some more weight and got a little bigger, and I lost my position. They moved me to line when I got to be a junior in high school. So I played on the line at Duval, and my senior year it was all Prince George's County and all suburban Maryland second team. So
was that O-line, D-line?
It was both lines.
Okay.
I got for mostly. My junior year, I played mostly offense. But my senior year, I got to play both.
Well,
ways.
that's how it was for a lot of us. We played both sides of the ball. Yeah.
Trying to find that sweet spot.
And it was just good fun to play. I was still a baseball guy. I was a good baseball player. I thought baseball might be my ticket, but I started to like this game of football a lot more too. So and I like sports. I like sports a lot, and I didn't like school. I didn't care about the books. I didn't lug them home at night. I get to school.
I bet those did.
I'm not the first jock to say that. But
I bet those did, really.
Now my neighbor across the street, he played line with me, and he's straight A. I mean, his mom made sure he had his books. My mom just wanted to make sure I had my cleats and my lunch money. So, I played ball and didn't do really well in school, and it cost me. I was being looked at and recruited. And my 2 buddies, they both went to William and Mary. They were good students. Played for, of all people, Lou Holtz. He was at William and Mary back then. And the assistant coach recruiting them was Bobby Ross.
Wow.
And I was part of the recruiting package, but I never really got the offer. And so Bobby Ross and I, joked around, Bobby Poss, Bobby Ross, we knew each other. And when I met him years and years later, he remembered that experience because he remembered Duval. He had some connection with Duval besides me, and so it cost me. And so I went to prep school. I went to a Columbian prep school in Washington, D.C. It was right downtown in the heart of the city. It was a Naval Academy affiliated school, so most of the guys that were at the prep school were going to go to the Naval Academy. And then there was a handful of us that were there for football to get our grades up, and we played football at the prep school.
Okay.
So that didn't count as a college eligibility. It was like your 13th year of school, and great competition. We actually played the Naval Academy, and we played Fort Belvoir, and a lot of the prep school era back then, from New Jersey to West Virginia, we got to play ball. And while I was at prep school, the first semester it definitely impacted my SAT score, boosted it greatly. And it opened the door for my grades to get me into college. I was Indiana State was down in D.C. and they came to school and they looked at us, and they had 3 of us come out for a recruiting visit, and 2 of us decided to go to Indiana State. Our running back from Cincinnati, Ohio, and we went to Indiana State. The other guy, Art Vinson, was offered a scholarship, but he says, I don't want it. And they said, what do you mean? He said, I want to play at Pitt. I'm from Pittsburgh. I want to play at Pitt. We looked at him and said, you got a scholarship, man. You're not going to take it. He said, no, I want to play at Pitt. I said, why'd you come here? He said, I want to be with you guys. He wasn't a bit interested. That's kind of one of the mindset. But let me tell you what, he ended up starting at Pitt. That's what he wanted to do. He started at Pitt. And Indiana State was transitioning from the old Indiana small college into what we know as 1AA ball today, and they were making the transition. They had the world's first outdoor AstroTurf. We had I saw the pictures. They were going to tear down the old ballpark, which it was a combination of baseball, football. It was a little rinky-dink place, to be honest with you, but they were going to knock out that and put up a big stadium, and they did when we opened it up my sophomore year, the new stadium. And I would say for that era, it was extremely good. Okay, they have a nice AstroTurf field, nice stadium. They had been 9-1. I was out of DC, and I thought, Midwest and open space, new start, leave behind some stupid decisions I had made and grown up being stupid at times. Didn't do well at school and grades. Want to get a fresh start. And my buddy O'Leary from Cincinnati was going to go there too, so I ended up at Indiana State.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
I hear work ethic all throughout your early development, and I remember earlier you were saying that middle class family, middle class upbringing, neighborhood, but work ethic was there, and it sounds like you got a great bit of that from your family, from your parents. How did that impact you as a man and who you are? Because I hear it all in your early life.
I appreciate that, because my dad had a great impact on that kind of thinking. He's a hard worker. He drove that bus and would come home and get out of his uniform and change clothes. And if he only had a couple hours of daylight, he was going to do something to make some extra money till dark. And then days off, he would work, and he would take the boys along. I was the oldest, so I got to start out. But if he's hanging storm doors and windows, and you were the part of the cleanup, there better not be anything left on that window that you can't see any streaks or anything. And he'd come behind him.
I can definitely.
It was never good enough. Never good enough. I promise you. Whatever we were doing, we didn't do it good enough. And Dad made us try to take a little pride in your work. He said you're signing your name to it.
Tracing out.
And we didn't like it as kids growing up. You know that. We didn't like it at all. But my youngest brother and I talk about it a lot. We'll do something around the house and we'll go back one more time, make sure that glass shines. So that was working. Mom had 4 kids. She had 3 boys and her daughter, or my sister, was the youngest. She had 4 kids, 3 boys that were all over the place. There wasn't a tree in that neighborhood that had been climbed, or a fence we hadn't jumped, or gotten in trouble for one thing or another. And so my mom was busy, taking care of us and trying to do the laundry and take care of the kids. So that 4 kids and a hard-working dad.
I can relate to that. Tracy can too.
We can, man.
We definitely talk about our fathers all the time, and my mom been a housewife as well, so I can talk to that.
And that was a blessing coming from that. We talk about coming from a household that was structured in that way. We were blessed to have our mom and our dad in our homes, and they gave us those examples. You got the work ethic. Mom worked too, but in a different way to make sure we had everything we need while dad was grinding. But as the oldest, my dad said that to me all the time. You the oldest. You are the oldest. So it was like I had to be the one to follow up and kind of.
How come the younger brothers always got a little more rope?
They got a little more rope, and my brother was always called the baby, and they somewhat learned from you.
Yeah. They got a lot more rope.
So, Coach, you had a paper route, just about age 10 years old. What lessons and early responsibilities did it teach you?
No, the paper route was great. That was how I made my 50 cents a week, extra money. Your responsibility was, you got a route, the paper's got to be delivered every day. You're raining, paper's gone. We had little plastic bags we could put it in, or we had to get inside the storm door, or whatever it took. We need to keep the paper dry. It's hot. All the guys are playing in the neighborhood, and you got to go see you. Head for the corner, go get your papers and get them delivered. It was a responsibility and an obligation that you learned that you had to come through on it. There was no, I can't do it today. You had to go.
I hear that wise man speaking now, but a lot of listeners are going to be saying, what did you do with 50 cents?
Hey, look, back in that time, and I say we might have been middle class, but I might have been exaggerating. Say like the Washington Daily News was 30 cents for the week. I would go collect money on Friday night, meet my district manager on Saturday morning, and if whatever the bill was for the amount of papers, we had 60 or 70 deliveries, whatever. I had to make sure I had the $18 that I owed him, and the extra $20, the $20 I collected, that $2 was mine, or $3 in tips, were good.
Right.
There were times that I would go collect and people say, I don't have it this week, come back next week, 30 cents. They didn't know I had to pay for that paper.
Wow.
And then I'd go back, and then there was one guy, I promise you, he had the biggest, thickest hands, calluses, all top of calluses. He reach in that pocket, pull out that change, and my eyes are getting big seeing all that money, all the nickels and dimes and stuff like that. The man always gave me 50 cents, always.
Paid you over.
And that 20-cent tip paid for somebody that didn't pay for it. Yeah, that was a part of growing up, learning how to meet the obligation.
That's important.
Like you said, that was that work ethic, and you talk about that football and how it became this baseball guy. Love baseball, still love baseball. I can tell. Became a football guy, and how did football overall? You gave us a glimpse, but how did that football overall shape your life, and how did that game change you?
It was sports and being a football player, putting your letter jacket on. Back in the day, everybody wore a letter jacket. You couldn't wait to get that letter jacket.
That was pride.
And you almost slept in it. Maybe I did a few times, but being a football player, maybe we weren't, but we felt like we were just a step above, man. We were willing to, no holds barred. Football was pretty tough back then. You and I've been sharing about the the contact and the being able to go hard at it. You found a little more confidence in yourself, being able to be tough. What little boy doesn't want to become a man? And that's part of the process of growing and developing into the man. Now, we thought we were men, but today we know we're not. But we wanted to develop, that thinking, and then still today, I'm sure today's kids feel the same way. They're playing football. They're developing their manhood. They ain't there yet.
As a young boy, as a young man, toughness was a big part of our identity. If you were seen as tough by your peers, playing that game allowed them to look at you a certain way, and you felt confident in that.
Yeah, that was part of it. The process of that, and even when I coached, I would tell the kids, you won't ever replace Friday night in your life running out on that field on game night. You said, you know, you'll do a lot of great things in life. You're going to have jobs and families, and you're going to do maybe some amazing places when you travel, but you'll not be able to replace the feeling of the lights come on, and that you know, playing on the smell of the grass, and you take that field. It's amazing. It's a thrill, and so
I remember Coach Carr.
You instill that, you know, that this is special. This is special. Don't take it for granted.
I remember before I got to high school, we used to go to the practices. And at that time, I think it was Coach Carr. He said, "When the lights come on, baby, we turn on the burner, baby."
Okay.
And so he said, "Turn on the burner." So that's so true about what you said.
And you all relate to that well, and I'm sure the people that follow the football and are listening to me now, and they played, they think about it too. And had a sporting goods salesman for Rydell. He's talking to me about something about football and kids, generally what we're talking about today. And he travels all over Western North Carolina and Tennessee and all that. And his name was Bull. I said, "Bull, I meet two kinds of men in my life." He said, "Really? What are they?" I said, I meet men that played high school football, and they want to tell me all about when they played. And I listen to them. And I meet men that wish they had played high school football.
Man.
Yeah.
And so he said, "I like that." Next time Bull comes by Reynolds High School, the man has printed up shirts. There are two kinds of men: those that played high school football and those that wish they had.
Yeah.
He got Rydell on the front. He's got my quote on the back, and he's giving it out to coaches and people and all that. It was like two kinds of men. And I promise you, I'm not far off. And when I meet people and they know back when I was coach and they find out I was a coach, they want to tell me about when they played.
All the time.
Or I met a guy that stood out. We were watching a big football game over my brother-in-law's house, and he had all the neighbors over and all that. And he said he played sports in high school, but he says, "You know, I really regret I didn't play football."
Yeah.
Most
You know,
people
so
don't.
you can't go back.
Can't go back.
Can't go back.
Can't
And
play
you
that
think,
one back.
and you think about that brotherhood that we built with our teammates, and even with our coaches to this day, we talked about that too. But those memories, when you said Friday night lights, and I'm looking at the lights around us now, it just, I thought about that Friday night lights, and there was nothing like running out on that field on Friday night, and you looked around, all the community was there cheering for you, or cheering against you.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And a lot of the guys you saw on the other side of the field, if they were in your county, you recognized those guys, you knew those guys, but nothing beats that. Like you said, those lights, the lights, Coach would always say, the lights will always shine a light on your effort or non-effort. You can't hide.
Yeah.
No Friday night lights.
The film don't lie.
Film don't lie.
Eye in the sky
Eye in
don't
the sky
lie.
don't lie.
Don't lie. So, Coach, you talked about Indiana State University, how you got there.
Okay.
So, what were some of your most memorable moments other than playing football there?
Well, I was there to play football.
Okay.
I mean, I was on scholarship. They were hard-nosed coaches back in the era, you know, and were turning the program around. My first experience, because I started in January, because I left prep school in December, because that was one of the other things, we could take the scholarship and go right in on January, start the second semester. So Chuck and I were out of prep school. Whew, get away there. And when I got back from the recruiting trip, Maryland called me and offered me. When I got back, you know, I said, "Well, I just got back from Indiana State." So, "Well, you know, we're going to offer you, and you know, we want to bring you on over. So what, 20 minutes from my house, you know." And I said, "Listen, I already made an agreement. You know," I said, "Thanks for the offer, but I made an agreement." He said, "Well, it's not signed and sealed and delivered." "Yeah," he said, "You know, we need to work it out." I said, "No, it's worked out because I told him I would."
Yeah,
So,
man, you were.
Man, you were.
that's the way we grew up, you know. So
Your word is
anyhow,
your bond.
I end up getting there in January, and then they start their winter conditioning program. I've never been in winter conditioning. Man, you talk about separating men from boys. That was every bit as hard. My brother went to Paris Island. I told him that was cake, because he ain't gone through winter conditioning in football. I said, man, we had guys dropping like flies. They were getting sick. I was so tired and sore. I walked down the middle of the street hoping a car would hit me. If it did, I could go to the hospital and get a rest. My body ached. I weighed 230 when I weighed 230 when I was recruited.
Oh man.
I went home at the end of that semester at 187. They knocked fat off of me. They fed me, but they worked us too hard. I didn't get to go through spring ball because back then freshmen were not eligible. So if I had gone through spring ball, that would have jeopardized my freshman eligibility. I would have come back.
Right.
That summer, I come back as a sophomore, and I hadn't even played freshman ball yet. I said, no, I don't think that's a good move. Coaches didn't either. So I came back as a freshman, and lo and behold, I broke my wrist in August camp. So I got 12 weeks in a cast. I've been through winter conditioning. I've been through summer ball right at the end of it, and I break my wrist, so I'm not going to play in any games. And so I'm kind of like just a fish out of water, I had no football. And I remember this specifically. I didn't play, and I didn't have to practice because I had a cast on, so I didn't even, they didn't care whether I was there or not. I mean, they were too busy, they had managers, so they didn't make wounded players like me hang out. So I'm in the dorm, in the lobby, hanging out with some freshmen, and they're bringing in the new recruits. And they're introducing them to, here's Danny and Charlie and Johnny, and the coach was a running back coach. He leaned over, he says, does he play? Like me, does he play? And he goes, yeah, that's Bobby Poss. He goes, okay, introduce yourself. I said, well, and no one of the kids just don't know me. I didn't go through spring ball with the team.
Right.
I didn't play freshman football. I was just there. And I said, I've kind of lost my way. They're bringing in new people. All the freshmen, they know who they are. I'm just lost in the closet, so to speak. I go through winter condition. I'm determined they're going to at least, see me. So I bust. I mean, I'm trying my best to get seen. We go through 8 weeks of conditioning and preparation for spring practice. And back then there was no limit on numbers. We had walk-ons, scholarship kids. There was 4 deep on the depth chart, and they put it up on the board. I wasn't even on the 4 deep chart. I mean, I was way behind, and I don't even think they're going to let me hold a dummy in spring ball. You would qualify for that. So I got through the first week. I didn't get much action, but at least I didn't break any bones. And the second week, we finish up with our first, what we call summer, a spring scrimmage, not a spring game, but a spring, our first scrimmage. We're going to play 1s against 2s and 3s and 4s.
Right.
So I'm not on any of the depth charts, so I'm not even scheduled to scrimmage. And we had a couple of guys hurt at my position. I was an offensive guard. And the Coach Vanderhayden, our line coach, is going bananas. He's yelling, I need somebody to block. Hit somebody. Give me a block. And he throws one kid off the side. He's, give me a guard that'll block. I go running in there. I mean, I just was on the field. I was in the huddle, and I was a guard. So I'm scrimmaging with them, and we're going against number 1 defense. This is going to sound a little braggadocious, but it happened.
Hey, man, you just had the floor. This is your time.
I remember vividly because I was just excited as I could be out there hitting. And I might have had more fire than most anybody because I didn't, I had a lot built up in me after you.
Man.
So I had a pretty good scrimmage, and in front of me was our defensive senior defensive lineman, pretty good player. He's from Alabama, and nicknamed him Bama. He's team captain. And they were yelling, Bama, when are you going to make a tackle? Bama, get some heat on the quarterback. Bama. They were yelling at Bama. I said, well, at least I know Bama's name. So we finish up, and it was Saturday evening. I saw my roommate. I said, Ramjet, he's our quarterback. Roger Ramjet. His nickname was Ramjet. So I said, Ramjet, I got on the field today. He goes, yeah, Posse. I said, I saw you in the huddle. And I go, yeah, I did. I said, man, I got to get more of that. So Sunday morning paper comes out, Terre Haute Tribune comes out. Sycamore's hold first scrimmage of the spring, and the storyline goes like this. And it said we were impressed with sophomore quarterback Roger Voorhees and sophomore guard prospect Bob Poss. I said, look at that thing, man. I'm throwing the paper in there. I said, Ramjet, they know my name. They know my name. I said,
you hit the lottery. You hit the football lottery.
I'm not in the dorm lobby anymore. Who is that? They knew my name. The depth charts were out on Monday. I was second team.
Wow.
I'd gone from no name to second team, and by that next third Saturday, that scrimmage, I was number one.
Wow.
And I'm telling you guys,
look back.
I got the one, and there ain't nobody going to get it from here on out. I got whatever it takes. I ain't losing this spot again. It's been a long time coming.
He was a living example of don't get ready, stay ready.
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah. But that's a true story I tell kids too. Sometimes you just got to keep in it. And I tell the kids, sometimes they gotta know you may be back up right now, but your name may get called, the opportunity come. You don't want to look like you don't belong there. That's how football got started for me. I got to start as a sophomore. I had a great sidekick. My tackle next to me, Danny Galbraith, was from Bethel Park, PA, out of near Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. Guys, he had 4 legs. These things coming out here, they were monsters. His arms were. First human I've ever seen bench press 500 pounds. And he lined up next to me, and I always say, how'd you get to be All-American? I said, I told Galby. I said, anybody give me any trouble? I said, I'm going to send him on you. So, I had a great teammate, good center, good offensive line coach. So I was able to play my sophomore year and start. And then my junior year, we played Western Illinois on the road. Second half, I'm going down special teams. I was a punt coverage guy. I'm going down the cover. I got hit from back, got rolled up, laid out. And I knew it wasn't good. I felt it, just, ooh, my goodness, the back of your leg scaring you. And so I didn't finish the game, going home. Lost the game. 2 pick six beat us. I told Ramjet, you got to quit that. You can't be throwing to the other team now. So
those, do you?
Got treatment scheduled all week, and I was. It was bad, but it wasn't ripped open or anything like that. It was treatment, see how it goes. Thursday, I'm in the treatment room. Coming out, it was at about 7:30 or so. Coming out, and I look up, and there's a sign that says the Fellowship of Christian Athletes meeting 7:30, and the room number was on it, of course. And I'm looking in, and I said, "What the heck? It's almost 7:30." I said, "Fellowship of Christian Athletes." I said, "I go to church. I might mosey down there." I said, "I saw a guy with an FCA shirt on one time, and it was really nice, a nice looking shirt." So I said, "I'll go down and see what the FCA is all about."
Yeah, nice looking shirt.
Yeah.
I go to church.
I go to church.
See what they talk about.
I thought I could at least get in the door.
Right.
So, and besides that,
No, he said, I got the resume.
I got a little wound. And then I might need a little divine healing. So I go down to the FCA meeting, and there's 2 of our sponsors were there, Jim Nelson and Charlie Miller. Jim's director of admissions. Charlie Miller was with the FCA staff. They give me a big hug. Thanks for coming. There's only about 7, 8 of us that showed up at the meeting, athletes that came out. I was the only football player in the room. And they gave me a Bible, told me what FCA's purpose was, and wanted me to come back. And I said, well, I like you guys. I'll probably come back. So I invited a bunch of football players to come. And they were, teammates and friends. I told them that FCA, they had, good guys would be able to come. We got snacks and all that kind of stuff.
Those are selling points.
They come. It's 7:30 at night.
College kids.
It wasn't like today's athlete. When you finished your meal at dinner, anything after dinner was on your own. So snacks were like that'd get you. So I had at least a dozen football players come. So now we've got almost 20 guys there. There's a dozen of them are football players. Jim and Charlie are excited, so they want to elect officers. We've got 20 people for our second FCA meeting. We're going to build this thing up. And those guys are going like, hey, boss, where's the snacks? I go, what snacks? There were no snacks. I said, what are you talking about? I never heard of snacks. They said, boss, where's the snacks? That's why we're here, And they said, okay, we want to get nominations. And they said, I nominate Poss for president. 12 hands go up. All my football players said, I got elected president in my second FCA meeting. So anyway, that's part of the story because you talk about school leadership processing going on. So I come out of that on Thursday night. Friday, I go, man, I feel really good today. I got sweats on. We're going to go do walkthroughs. I go up to Coach Vandy. I said, Coach, I feel great. I can go. He said, well, Bobby, that is good news. I'm glad you feel good. I'm glad you can go. But Terry's practiced all week, and Terry's going to start. I said, well, I get it. I get it. But if you need me, I'm right there. And lo and behold, we're playing Eastern Illinois. It's our home opener. We're just kind of mudding around. We're not getting much done. We're not looking good or anything. And I promise you, the head coach, Jerry Huntsman, yells to Vandy. He says, Vandy, get Poss in there. Who yells, get Poss in there? He put running backs in there, changed the quarterback. But you don't say that we need a lineman. He said, put Poss in there. But by the time Vandy said, get in there, my helmet was snapped. I was already 5 steps out there. I was headed to the huddle. I hit that huddle, and I hit Galby. He said, what are you hitting me for? I said, let's go, man. Let's do this. We're fired up, jacked up. We ended up winning 28-7.
So you brought the energy. Coach knew he was going to bring the fire.
I was a loose cannon, in other words. I was pounding on people. Let's go. And I was enthusiastic. Stayed with FCA because I was president. That's why I went all season.
Yeah.
Once I got well, I may not have kept going. But I was president, so I had to go every week. Again, it's the paper route story.
Yeah.
The paper's got to be delivered. The president's got to go to the meeting.
Commitment.
Right.
So Thursday nights, whether all of them didn't come back, but Ramjet started coming, and a couple of the other players. We had a pretty good little FCA group. That it meant a lot to me. I mean, I was hearing good messages, and I was getting good fellowship, and I had a Bible, first Bible that I personally owned, and I would flip through the pages a little bit. I didn't really understand all that I was reading and praying about. So at the end of the junior year, I was a special teams guy and offensive guard. I led the team in blocking performance grades, led the team in downfield tackles, and had a good season. Ramjet comes back. I was in the fraternity now. Ramjet comes back to the frat house. He says, hey, Posse, you made All-American. And I go, yeah, that's right. So he's coming in there. He says, yeah, you made All-American. I said, Ramjet, don't start that stuff.
Right.
Especially with these crazy frat brothers. Don't be doing that.
Don't give them that ammo.
Yeah, don't give them that. So they say, yeah, let's turn on the sports. They even turned on the sports. And they go, Sycamores had 3 players named All-American. And it was an honorable mention. Okay, and it was still pretty cool. So now I'm president of the FCA. I got a little notoriety, All-American. Next thing you know, people want me to speak at their church, youth groups, and stuff like that. I go, oh my gosh, I can, it wasn't. It didn't feel qualified. Our FCA sponsor started taking me with him on weekend getaways, where there would be FCA conferences, and they were bringing in speakers, and I was picking up, the lingo, what people said. So I was copying them. I'd go speak. I didn't have to have a great talk, but it just needed to be a little bit.
And you were kind of following your own script based on. But leadership is leadership.
Right. Well, and God used that to convict me that if you're going to say it, you got to start doing it. If you're going to talk like a Christian, you need to act like a Christian.
Exactly.
So that process put me into sharing with groups, and activities and events, and it just had a role to play in my life. The Lord was always there. I mean, I believed in God, but I didn't have a real strong personal relationship, a saving relationship with the Lord, which was missing. So that was how my junior year went. And then the summer came along. I needed to go to home to work, and my sponsor says, no, you need to go to FCA camp and serve as a college huddle leader. And I go, wow, I got to work. I got to get some summer money to come back. He says, hey, we'll take care of you. You go. We have a job when you get back. You just go to the camp. So I had to go get trained in FCA training. It was in Kansas City for being a college athlete, what we call a huddle leader. And got prepped. Went off to FCA camp at Denison University in Granville, Ohio. The FCA camp in Annapolis, Maryland, at the Naval Academy. That's another story that's a testimony story that night or that week in 1972 in Annapolis, Maryland, with 500-600 kids, boys, college huddle leader. We had all inner city, DC, Baltimore, Philadelphia kids, suburban white kids. It was water and oil. It was high tension, a lot of racial uncomfortable feelings, and they're at the Naval Academy, beautiful place, spick and span, high class all the way around you, and we're acting like a bunch of knuckleheads, pushing and fighting and shoving around each other in the dining room. Little competition games ended up breaking up fights. It was a mess. It was getting worse by the day. And we were on guard at night to keep kids in their room from getting out and doing things. It was wild. We were not in a good place. And our speaker the last night, Bobby Mitchell, All Pro, Washington Redskin, Hall of Fame, NFL player today. He came out and he just tore up the script. He said, "Okay, fellas, let's get real." He said, "I know what's going on. I've been hearing about it all week, and you ain't going to fix it, by having a FCA t-shirt on. You ain't going to fix it with this way. You ain't going to fix it with fighting." He says, "There's only one thing that's going to clean this mess up." He says, "And that is Jesus Christ." And he shared the gospel, the good news of Jesus living in your heart to get along with each other. And I mean, he gave a great witness. He gave a great encouragement. He broke down the barriers. Like it had never been broke down like that. And I'm a DC kid. I've grown up in the era of this late 60s and 70s. I've never felt the presence of God like that night in that room. And guys that have been fighting each other all week, pushing and shoving, went over and shook each other's hands, put their arms around each other, started singing the camp songs together. The one thing that can break down divisions, uneasiness, hostilities is the peace and the power of Jesus Christ. And I saw it that night. And I said, "Man, this is FCA at its best." This was wonderful. And I was touched.
Wow.
Had one more camp to go to, and that was up in Henderson Harbor, New York, an island between the United States and Canada. The only way you could get on it was by boat. And you go out this it's an old YMCA camp. They had some little fields scattered around, some old dormitories. It was a dump compared to the Naval Academy. And it was that camp is when the huddle leaders were all together one evening and they were sharing, and the kids had all gone to bed, and the college kids were all hanging out and they were laughing, and we started playing charades. And I go, "That's me. I'm the biggest charade player in the room. I play the Christian game. I'm a charade player. I talk it. I've never asked Jesus to be my personal Lord and Savior." So I go back to my room. I just leave, go back to my room. I was scared to do that because I was afraid what I might be giving up. I might be giving up tough guy football player. I might be giving up fraternity life, fun and games. I might be giving up social life that you have on campus. I was afraid to give any of that up, but I realized I didn't really need it. I needed Jesus. So I prayed Jesus into my heart at FCA camp, June 1972, and I came back to campus on fire for the Lord. Man, I was excited to tell my teammates. Had a Bible study started in the morning during summer camp. Got FCA to provide a speaker for us for every game. We had a speaker home and away. They would meet us if we played away or we were at home. And the coaches looked over, and there's Roger Ramjet, our quarterback, the team captain, me, Rover back, and a couple other starters, and guys having a Bible study before breakfast. And the coach is looking over there. Nobody ever heard of college kids having Bible studies back then, and they're looking over and said, them guys are reading their Bibles. They were probably, I'll see what kind of football players they'll be. So we knew that. They said, guys, we're going to be the best football players on the team. We're going to be the guys. Okay, we're going to make sure they know that being a Christian doesn't take away our. And Roger Ramjet against the University of Akron, they punt the ball, it drops dead on the 1 yard line. We're 99 yards away. We need a touchdown to win. In the final 2 minutes of the game, Ramjet leads us on a 99-yard drive. That's one of my teammates in that Bible study. We kick off to Akron. Akron's got about 40 seconds to go or something, you know, and there are no timeouts. They're going to throw it down, out, you know, try to get it downfield. Reggie's the rover back on the far side of the field. They throw the down and out. The guy catches it. He breaks like he's going to the sideline. Our corner goes to try to tackle him, cut his angle off so he can't get out of bounds. The guy stops, does a 360 whirly bird. Our corner flies by. He hits the sideline. He's got nothing but green astroturf. Right. He gets caught because our rover back from the back side took the proper angle on the pass play.
Angle of pursuit.
He didn't watch him. He took his angle, and when he broke, his angle got him. He caught him on the 15-yard line, saved the game. Those are my teammates. Those are the guys that had the Bible study. That's the power of the Lord working in your heart.
And you think you're leaving something behind, but you're not when you make that decision.
No, you're gaining more. And I Reggie and Roger and I are still keep up with each other today. Text messages and holidays and stuff like that. We keep up with one another. We were bonded more than football. We were bonded in faith and trust and stuff like that. So my leadership game, part of FCA was critical of that. Being a football player, let's get it done type stuff. Being a team captain, leadership was kind of just thrown in me. It was innately opportunity, and I've always been not afraid to step on toes or get where I need to be. So
talk about being on fire for football and on fire to prove yourself so much of that first part of your journey, and then when Christ stepped in, that took all that fire and leadership that was in you already, and now you're on fire for God, you're on fire for Christ, and then you find a brotherhood within that, and that shapes and molds your leadership that you had in you. Christ took it and shaped it and molded it, and it lets you know that God is always in the midst of your journey, even when you don't understand it. Like you said, you were afraid of how it was going to impact you overall, but it took you to that next level. And that next level, you talked about leadership. How did that evolve into coaching? That your next phase, you're out of college now. What was that first coaching opportunity? How did it lead you into coaching?
Well, I was Indiana State, and I graduated. I started in midterm, so I graduated in midterm. Coach Hudspeth was real nice and really, really helpful to me. I talked to him about I might be considered a GA, and he said, "Yeah, that would be great." I said, "But right now, I'd like to finish the semester out on scholarship." He said, "What?" He says, "He's oh, that's right. You started in the middle of the year. Your scholarship's used up." He said. He said, "We'll keep you on. You can go to the second semester." So he said, "You're on scholarship. You're covered. Housing's covered, meals and tuition." So I said, "Hey, thanks, Coach." And he didn't have to do that. So
look, you was already on fire for God. So
yeah, God's stepping in again. So I took 3 night classes in grad school. Was going to substitute teach. And a job opened up right across the river. The Wabash River separates Indiana and Illinois. Across the river is Illinois. Marshall High School in Illinois had a PE opening in my major. How do you get an opening? PE jobs are hard to get, and there's an opening. And the superintendent's name is Cocky Bush.
What a name.
He was an Indiana State legend. The outstanding athlete in Indiana State is named the Cocky Bush Award. I'd won the Cocky Bush Award. So when I got the Cocky Bush Award, I got the blanket to prove it, and they got a PE opening, and they said, I was interested, and I said, well, if you want it, you can finish out the year with it. So I get to go finished out the year as a PE
English.
teacher, and they ended up making it a full-time position. So that's my first coaching job in Marshall.
Marshall, okay.
And that was a good little rural Illinois town. They love football. We only had 3 varsity coaches, and I was a good assistant coach.
Okay.
And that's all I knew. And I didn't realize when Rockville opened up in Indiana, they wanted to get me to come there.
And we were going to ask you about that transition to Rockville.
Yeah, so I'm in Marshall, and now Rockville is a little rural town north of Terre Haute, Indiana State, and I had a pretty good football career there, and they wanted me to come be their football coach. And man, I can do this. Woo! Did I grow up fast? You talk about leadership. I didn't have any. I was wet behind the ears. What I thought I knew, I didn't know nothing until you got to do the whole deal. Offense, defense, special teams.
Everybody comes in.
I didn't have an assistant coach that really knew football.
All points
I had an
lead.
ag teacher and a chemistry teacher as my assistant coaches. All he wanted to do was throw the ball deep, and the other guy just wanted to kind of like he was a farm boy. He wanted to just wrestle cattle. So. I was trying my best, and I found out there was a lot I didn't know.
Well, that happens a lot of time in schools that you don't have guys that play, but you incorporate them in to coach.
They'll do it.
And they'll do it.
They're breathing. They got a pulse.
Yeah. But look, so Coach,
they wanted to do the best they could, and they probably overachieved in a lot of ways. But
part of that team, though, they want to be a part of that team.
Well, and again, the other components of coaching, I had no clue about.
Right.
Assessing talent. Demanding. How demanding can you be? Can you be hard nosed, or can you be demanding, or are you supposed to gradually do this stuff?
Right.
What kid needs a pat on the back? What kid needs a little kick in the rear? And learning all those things. And what kid's girlfriend just broke up with him and he's moping around. He's not practicing hard.
Right.
All the kind of issues that you've never dealt with.
Mental
health. Just wow. Yeah. And then you got a lot of going on.
All the nuances. Everything
understanding the what's and the whys. Don't know. So Rockville's a great place for training ground for me. It was a real, small school. It was a good training ground for me to figure these things out, because I didn't have a real teacher there to help me out, but I had good Christian mentors there. My wife and I were blessed by the families in the community that we were part of, to get them. But
that's that Christ still allowing a foundation to be there for you. As you maneuver into another phase of your life.
Now, that was a couple of things that I did know that I wanted to do. I didn't have FCA in my high school days, so we were going to have an FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes chapter, for the whole school, for all the athletes and the kids. So I would sponsor that. And I said, we're going to have team prayer. Of course, that was not even a question back in the 70s.
I was going to say that because when someone listening now, when you talk about bringing FCA in on a high school level, school prayer, were there any kind of opposition to that?
There was no opposition at all. And and then I was going to have a team devotion speaker every week, like we did in college. I was going to have somebody come in. The local pastors take turns, come in and speak to the team. So I wanted to set that kind of influence in place, that it wasn't just me, Coach Poss, trying to get Christ involved. I wanted to see different pieces of it in the young people's lives. So I got that going, and that was probably the best thing I did as far as when it comes to wins and losses and coaching them up. And it was through the Fellowship of Christian Athletes that I really got that job, because they knew me through FCA in football. And I'm in Rockville, my third year there, and we're very happy. Luann is just I've gotten married between Marshall and Rockville. I got married to my college sweetheart. So FCA kind of opened the door, because they were visiting that Charlie Miller, the FCA staff member in Indiana. His friend from Raleigh, North Carolina, was visiting him, and he said, "Hey, you need to meet my friend Coach Poss while you're here." And Charlie probably over exaggerated about me, and Johnny Clements comes down and meets me, and we talk. He said, "Bobby, would you be interested in a position in Wake County Schools?" I said, I'd love to. I said, you know, Indiana is basketball country. You know, they didn't have no IU like we just had. Might be different today.
Well, that's why that IU win was so big.
Yeah.
For that very reason.
So basketball's big, and football's bigger in the South. And, you know, and I grew up in Maryland, so a little south, but not far enough down North Carolina way. So I said, I'd be very interested in that. So I went down to Raleigh, and Johnny Clements was the athletic director at Wake County Schools. So I ended up getting the opportunity to go to Apex High School outside of Raleigh as a coach, and it was there that incorporated the same concepts of FCA, team devotions, game day prayers. I was fortunate enough to bring a teammate from mine who just graduated from Indiana State, John Griggs. He was a backup quarterback. He was a couple years behind Roger. He lived in Indiana, and I talked him into coming down, and then I had some guys that could, you know, knew some football, help me coach, and we got a little bit better about coaching. With the more help I got, the better I got. Believe it or not, my assistant coaches.
Hey, you can grow by the team of people you have around you.
Well, the first couple of years was just getting your feet wet.
Yeah, and they weren't completely dry, but they were getting better.
But then when you get some other football minds around
you can delegate authority and stuff like that. So at Apex, and Apex was just a wonderful little place. It was still rural then. You know, back in the 70s, it was still farmland and tobacco cropping and farm boys coming out for football.
How important was community?
Oh, wow.
Because I know that was one of the things
Rockville community was fabulous.
Community and football go together so much. Talk about Friday Night Lights. Yeah. That's community when you talk about these high schools.
Especially in North Carolina.
Yeah, North Carolina.
Yeah, North Carolina. In a small town like Apex, when the lights come on Friday night, the whole town's
back down to the South, Friday Night Lights. Everybody's talking about that game all week long. What's coming up?
Well, this is a sad but true story. New coach comes in, all this firepower, all these accolades.
Everybody want to see.
And guess what?
See what you got.
Yeah.
We're 0-4. Well, we were 2A.
I know what they were saying about you in the barbershop.
We're 2A, and the principal wanted us to play 3A. 2A with all the rural schools, 3A were Wake County schools. They were Durham schools.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the difference between 2A, 3A, but there were some advantages. So we're 0-4, and our best player got hurt in the first game of running back. That was a stud. I mean, a stud. That didn't help. And we're at church. Luann and I are at Salem Baptist Church in Apex. And at the end of the service, we're singing a closing hymn, and we're finishing up. And as we fold our hymnals like this hand comes on my back like this. Big old paw hits me. Hey, Coach. I go, oh, hey, Mr. Booth. You know, one of the kids' dads. You know, is behind us, and he says, hey, Mrs. Booth and I would like to have you and the wife over for lunch after church today. I go, well, really? You know, we'll see how this is going to play out. So, I knew who he was, and and I knew his son Billy was just a great kid, and I'd heard good things about Mr. Booth. So I said, yes, sir, we'd be honored. So we go over. And we get to his house. He gets out the grill. He's grilling out. He throws some steaks on there. I said, steaks for lunch? You know, I said, well, that's all right. You know,
good lunch.
I said, hey,
so we can do this.
I said, hey, did anybody tell you we're 0-4? You
know? Yeah.
I didn't know what direction he's going to go in, and he says, hey, Coach, we just want to encourage you. Just don't get down. You know, he's had some tough luck. The scores were close, and you know, here or there we could have won. And Larry's out, the running back, and he'll be back. You know, just don't get down. Keep going. Well, we went 5 of the next 6. You know, so I went back. I said, hey, I got to know him better now. His name was Bill Booth. I said, hey, Bill, remember that? We were 0-4 and you fed me steak. I said, we won 5 games. You ain't give me anything to eat yet. And so they're just a wonderful family. You talk about community and support.
Yes.
And encouragement. Sometimes, it's a little harder to get that today, isn't it? They're ready to.
Yeah, they're ready to get rid of you.
They fired 10 NFL coaches this week.
Hey, they're gonna fire
10
you.
NFL.
You can win 19 games, they're gonna fire you.
Yeah.
Man, you have a. They used to, what was that phrase? Short leash.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to call it anymore.
They don't have a
There's
leash.
no leash.
No leash.
No leash.
So you was at A-Plat, you went over to 71st, Southview, AC Renters. What remained consistent in your coaching approach? You won some state championships. You played against me.
Well, I got past getting your feet wet stage a little bit. I learned a little bit more about the what's and the whys, and that to me is working with a staff, getting the best out of your coaching staff, getting them to know they're important and what their roles are, and let them be, able to contribute to it. So we're learning how to build a good staff was part of my process. I had very good assistant coaches. Maintaining control, authoritarian expectation, learning what demands are on them. The more demanding I got, the better we got. I had to clean up some bad acts, and I learned that lesson. If you can't behave yourself, you're gonna hurt us. You can't behave yourself in the hallway, you're gonna hurt us. Somewhere along the line, those are kind of things. You can't. We're not choir boys. I know that. We're not all perfect angels. So you got to have some guidelines and some leniency in the side, but you just got to have strong discipline. So these are kind of the fundamentals of the influence of the team, and getting players in the right position, moving them around. You'd make a better defensive player, and you'd be a better offensive player. I'm going to move you, and I'm going to try to get utilizing your talent.
Yeah.
We made adjustments with offenses and defenses. I got better at doing the coaching game, the maintaining the level of the team. Let's call it, the good soil. The parable of the good soil. We're going to have FCA on campus. We're going to have a team devotion. We're going to have a team prayer. Okay, we're not going to cuss. We're not going to be knuckleheads and all that. We're going to expect the best you got to offer. And so we had good kids that went along with us. We had the discipline that you needed, and I think those are those main streams. And of course, you better have, if you're going to win a state championship, you got some good players.
Yeah,
you really do. I mean, you got to have some players that play hard and smart and play as a team. And I would never want to undersell the players for winning a state champion. It wasn't because I coached them; it was because they played. They did the block.
Well, we talked about all that. We talked about it earlier about all levels of football. Yes, great coaching, great systems, great foundational tools and teachings, but you got to have the players as well. That goes back to what you were talking about earlier. It's the coaching, the players. You bring all that together. You bring it all together home. You can have good teams, but to have it all, that's where you get the state championships, the national championships.
Well, I picked it up probably, some clinic or some saying at a FCA camp or something. But who wins? The best players or the best teams?
I'll take the team.
The best teams win. IU, probably man for man, did not match Miami.
Yeah.
Probably man for man. But what a team. What a heart that team had. The plays were made when they had to make them.
Yeah, because you can have great players that don't play as a team. You're not winning.
And I'm not
You're not winning the big games.
And Miami had a good team. And they played as a team.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. But I'm saying sometimes you guys plan for each other. You got each other's back.
Yeah.
And you're going to be that Reggie Rover, and you're going to be in that pursuit angle. You're going to be hustling.
Yeah.
You're going to be the guy that says, we can go 99 yards.
Well, prime example, you talked about the IU game. The offensive lineman that jumped.
Oh, my goodness.
That caused them from going 2nd and 1 to take it back to 3rd and 6. And then they never, ever got in that situation where they had to kick the field goal. Yeah. He said at the end of the game, he was going to find that DB that intercepted the ball at the end of the game. And he said, I'm going to give him a hug. I might even give him a kiss. That goes back to what you talked about, team mindset. He said it wasn't about me. He was an All-American offensive lineman. But he said, I have to find that guy. That guy saved me because I knew I made a mistake. And they had just said the guy doesn't make mistakes. He made one at a pivotal point in the game.
Worst time of his life.
But he thought about his teammate and said, what would this night have been if I would have ended this game, no national championship, and I made that mistake?
You got to live with it all life.
And I made that pretty clear from August 1st meeting. I said, as good as you are, we ain't going to win any games unless we're a team.
Exactly.
And when we took the '99 team at AC Reynolds and made sure that was a week, that was part of the pregame. Who wins? The best players, best teams. Teams. Let's go. That was our motto. Who wins? The best players, the best teams.
Yeah, we were going to ask about your coaching philosophy. You're talking about your coaching philosophy right now, and that was a great lead into that. And what do you remember when you reflect back on those 5 state championships that Foster mentioned? You knew you lived it.
Hey, look, I got a mess with Coach because '86 we was in the battle.
The Knights.
We was in the battle.
Well, most of the time, our teams were good, but we weren't just dominating teams. We weren't a team that you say, "Wow, man, I hope we can keep it close."
You found a way to win.
We look. If you look at those 5 state championship scores, they're all tight as a drum. Field goal. We won the '86 state championship on the last play of the season, 3-0 on the field goal.
3-0. And they got there 13-15 with us.
Yeah.
Late.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Those are close games, but I honestly don't think of 5 state championships when I think about coaching. That is not what I think about. I think about the Rockville kids. I think about the 71st, the Southview kids, the Reynolds kids.
Right.
I collectively when I think of coaching, I think about the kids, the teams.
Impact.
That
Impact.
And then it will come up because we live in a culture of sports in the USA. Sports is important. It's big. People like successful things and winners. They get a hold of you want a state championship or and then
once you get
once
you get the winner tag, everybody wants a piece of it.
Yeah, he was just saying it. You could be.
They don't mind listening to a story or something like that. And again, you guys, you already got it. Your questions already know that you get it. You don't take anything away from me by telling me you got to have the players, you got to have the teams, you got to have the community, because those are what I believe made these good teams. They made the community effort. When we played in '99, we couldn't get enough games. We had to play in Disney World because we couldn't get anybody to play us. We were a 4A school in the mountains, and nobody up there. I was looking for game 10. I couldn't get game 10. And so I filled out the form, and we got a chance to play in Disney World. We had to raise, our trip cost $50,000 to go to Disney World. And, we raised the money, nickeled and dimed it to program ads, sales, donations.
Found a way.
We flew a private jet down. I mean, that's why it cost so much money. We didn't take a bus. We had a NCAA chartered 186 passenger jet take off from Asheville.
Them players, I bet them players
some of them have never been on a plane.
They're still talking about that to this day when they get together.
When the plane took off and just get a little roar in it, they put their hands up like they were on a roller coaster. They didn't know what the plane was going to do. They were honestly most of them had never been on a plane before. But the community, the rah-rah, the bond that goes along with that kind of stuff is building a team.
And you sit here and you can't even cover it anymore, and it's not going to be this for every coach as far as how they're going to tell their legacy. We talked about community, talked about players, talked about coaching, but you also talked about every program. You made sure God was in the program.
FCA was
and
involved.
You made sure that these men and coaches walk the walk with integrity, with Christ, about leadership. Because even talking about during that time, you talking about no cursing. This is how we're going to handle ourselves. We're going to handle ourselves with dignity. It looks like you had great examples of the community with these young men as well. So to me, listening, I'm inspired because you said it's not just about winning. It's about how you shaped and molded and sculpted these young men. Yeah, planted seeds of that Christ said. Yeah. You said it, in good soil. Just that philosophy, I feel like that is attached to your leadership.
And again, those are blessings. Like I said, God just kind of, opportunities came along in my life that were just uniquely special, and that we're given free will, free choice, and you want to make good choices. When God gives you opportunities, you better see that He's offered them to you. Don't want to turn your back on them.
What was it like to coach standout players such as Ben Johnson during the 2002 state championship run at AC Runnels?
I know is that going to be one of your questions, because
Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson is truly an icon in the sports world today with the Bears and their success, and you see that post-game locker room celebration, going on in there, and you can see the Ben's demeanor on the game is amazing. Y'all see how he's so focused and dialed in.
He's focused and dialed in the entire time. When the camera angle gets on him during the game, you see a guy that's locked in to what every integral movement is in the nuances of the game. He's locked in.
No emotion. He doesn't. A big play, they did a 4th and 8 pass. He doesn't change his demeanor. He doesn't even do this during the entire game. And so I was talking to the Tribune, the Chicago Tribune reporter was asking me some, about Ben, and we're talking. And I said, in high school, Ben was always processing everything we did. Game day, he'd be down on the sideline, usually about 10 yards away from everybody, just staring on the field. And I said, at times I would be thinking, I wonder, Ben ought to be, yelling at the lineman or somebody, you guys need to give me some time, some blocking, going around, some encouragement. Ben didn't do it at practice, and he didn't do it at the game. He didn't make a mistake. I mean, I don't think he ever went the wrong way on a handoff. I didn't worry about fumbles and execution. I didn't worry about, the things that get you beat. Ben was a leader in execution, and he hadn't had hardly any NFL games yet that because he wasn't on the local. They got the Panthers or the Bills or the Patriots in the East Coast. I said, I don't get to see the Bear game. I'm watching on the iPad. So they said, that's the way Ben is in a game. I go, a little bit I've seen. I said, yeah. I said, we've all talked about it. He shows no emotion at all. And I said, well, that's the way he was in high school. That's Ben Johnson. He's processing what's going on. And I said, it didn't bother me. I didn't need a cheerleader. I need a quarterback. I got 20 cheerleaders behind me bouncing around. You're getting the crowd up. I said, Ben just needs to play good, and that's what he did. So Ben Johnson's are just a sample. His high school teammate and linebacker Chase Rice, who's a country music star. He did the halftime at the game last week for him, and Ben and Chase were roommates in college at Carolina.
Look at that.
And together and I saw Chase years ago. He had already told me this. He said, Coach, we do good, better, best before we take every concert. He said, our band, we all together. He said, we do good, better, best before we go out. So Ben Johnson goes to one of Chase's concerts in Chicago, and he saw he and his wife are hanging out with Ben is hanging out with Chase and the band, and they're doing good, better, best. And I'm not sure when Ben actually decided to do good, better, best, but if he was thinking about it when Chase did it, it sealed the deal. So good, better, best, process into the Bear locker room, and it became a part of the ritual of a win, a good, better, best. So they've done a lot of stories on that. But you mentioned Ben and the great kid he was. He was a role model on a scale of 10. He was an 11. When I did Bigger, Faster, Stronger clinics, I do Ben Johnson's stories, talk about what he would do on a scale of 1 to 10, what made him 11. I would use his role model example to other athletes. So Ben stands out for us But I'd be doing a bigger, faster, stronger clinic, and they would ask me, "You coach anybody famous?" You know, they want to know, "You coach anybody famous?"
Oh yeah.
I say, I coached John Hill, Shannon Hill, Jeff Anders. I coached, named a few more guys, Sean Faircloth, and they're all looking at me like, "Who?"
I was going to say they were probably looking at you like, "Give me a name. Give me a
Was
name."
Everett a part of your
and
group too?
I said, "Y'all don't know them?" And they go,
Was MacGyver part of your group?
I said, Sean Faircloth. Oh, I forgot. I tell you, he was a Marine. He was the first guy off the helicopter that went behind the enemy lines that got the down pilot. That back then they had just covered on the national news.
Right.
The pilot had gone down enemy lines, and they sent in a helicopter to go in and behind the trees, go down, get him, pull him out. Sean Faircloth was the first Marine to jump out of a helicopter to pull him up and get him on the plane. His mom calls me. I'm in Asheville. I coached him in at Southview, and his mom calls me, just elated as can be. They said, "Coach Potts, you ain't gonna believe this. Sean was on that helicopter," you know. And I said, "Hey, that's pretty cool."
Oh man.
And these guys are Rangers in Afghanistan, Iraq, and I go, "They're famous guys."
Yeah.
They're
Was MacGyver one of your guys? Everett?
Everett McIver, yeah,
The one that got the pin in the neck with Irvin.
yeah, Irvin, yeah.
Good guy.
Everett, we got Everett stories now. We ain't got time for it, but Everett, 6'6", first 300-pounder I ever coached, big as a house. He basically a good boy too, you know, basically a really good boy. And I told Everett wanted to go in go play in college. I said, "Everett, your grades are really struggling. You know, you're going to have to work really hard to kind of get them up." And so we got it up just enough, just enough to get him in at Elizabeth City State. I told him, I said, "Everett, if I was you, I'd go in the military." I said, go join the Army, come out and go straight to the NFL. I thought, "You can play." I said, "Everett, you can don't worry about playing college. You can play in the NFL."
Hey, look, go get in shape. You'll be 3 years removed. You can just go get on the team.
I said, you'll be ready to go." I just didn't think Everett would make it.
Right.
But Elizabeth City, they got him in. He got him in, and he was freshman player of the year.
All rookie, we shared it together.
And he was also the conference player of the year, and comes out of college and goes right to the Miami Dolphins, straight into the Dallas Cowboys.
It's funny that you said it because Mick was having the same problem with me that you was having with Everett.
Yeah.
And then we both ended up being all rookie our freshman
Your
year.
freshman year.
Yeah.
Go Broncos, huh?
Go Broncos.
Go Broncos.
Playing against Everett, good guy.
Now that good, better, best.
Good, better, best.
Coach James, my high school coach, that was, and a lot of my teammates, if they get a chance to watch this, and I'm sure your guys as well, can you good, better, best for them?
Well, we did the good, better, best, because when I got to AC Reynolds at 71st, we sang the school song, fight song, and at Southview, the kids already had a song for Southview Tigers that was pretty catchy. So a post game win, we sang.
Okay.
I get to Reynolds, they don't have a fight song. They do not have a fight song. They got an alma mater, but they don't have a fight song. They don't even have the band doesn't even play one consistent song. And you think a powerhouse like Reynolds was in the 80s and history of Reynolds, they don't have a fight song. So I said, "Well, we're going to do something. If we win a ball game, we're going to come in the locker room and just go, 'You good, man?' 'Yeah, we good.'" You know. I said, "No, we're going to have some fun. We win a game. We worked all week to win this game, and we're not just clapping." So I said, "Yeah, we're going to do a little good, better, best chant." So we won a ball game. Y'all just repeat after me: good, better, best. Good, better, best. Never let it rest.
Never let it rest.
And they come back. Never let it rest till your good gets better. Till your good gets better. And your better gets best.
And your better gets best.
And then you're going to go 1, 2, 3, break down, or go big green. We would do go big green machine. So we go big green machine, and that became a tradition in our locker room during the whole time I was at Reynolds. You know, it was 9 years, and every win we did good, better, best.
Right. That's great.
I didn't invent
great
it.
memories for me. No,
I just used it in the locker room. Was all I did. But it was catchy.
That resonated with us too, man, because of that. And we talking about good, better, best. The wife. How instrumental was your wife in your just that coaching support, your coaching journey? I know how much she meant to you and how important that was to have her support.
Was totally clueless of football when I met her. Yeah, we got fixed up, and my fraternity brother was dating a Chi Omega, and I said, hey, when are you going to get me with one of your sorority sisters? I want to meet with you. So we ended up and hook me up. Sorority, brotherhood. My brother's dating your sister. I want to get in on this, you know. So poor Luann gets set up. She don't want to be set up. She don't want to be with a football player. She don't want to go on no blind date. She don't want to meet nobody that she don't know. And so, but he's a friend of Dave's, you know. And so it worked out that we ended up going out. And she didn't have a clue of football. She, and I'm thinking I'm a big man on campus, you know. And she cared less, you know. Football ain't got, they got no advantages. No advantages.
Yeah.
But we hung out and we got along, and so we finished out the spring seeing each other, and then I go off to FCA camp, I'm going all summer, and you know, that kind of like cools the jets a little bit. I come back, we see each other, but it didn't like, how you been, you know, and all that stuff. It was just kind of, you know, like, hello. Yeah, so then next thing you know, I see her a couple times on campus, and we talk, and we're going to football. She goes to football games, and she can't find me on the football field. She don't know where offensive linemen play. She has no idea what's going on. She don't know, how do you get a first down, you know, stuff like that. But we got along really good, and we dated all during the football season, and my parents came out, and my grandparents came out, and they would sit with her, and she enjoyed my family and so on. So my grandfather sat with her and helped her find me. That's the first time she says, you know, all this time I'm thinking I'm knocking somebody block, and you know, I'm getting a block. I said, I know she saw that. I know she thinks I'm good. She don't have a clue. I don't know no difference between offense or defense or first down. And my grandfather says, okay, now watch when they break the huddle. You know, put your eye right on number 60.
He's pointing you out.
He says, he's coming out of the huddle. So you see him? Yeah, I see him. Okay, now watch. He's going to line up right next to the guy that's going to move the football. Oh, that's where he is. You know, so she learned about football. By the end of the season, she was now wanting to go to the game, and one of our FCA sponsors, we were playing at Southern Illinois the last game of the season. He knew I was dating Luann and seeing her because she'd wait after the games and stuff like that. And Turk says, "That girl waiting on you again?" I go, "Yeah." So he used to kid me about that. So he said. He says, tell her to swing by my office. He was the assistant director of admissions. He said, swing by my office. And he said, I'll give her a ride if she wants to go to Southern Illinois. You know, it was maybe 2.5 hours from Indiana State. Mm-hmm. So he took her to the game, and that she wanted to go. She got into football enough. And so when we start coaching, she becomes a coach's wife. She just grew on her, and today you can watch a football game with her, and she'll say, "Are they going to go for 2?" She said, "Damn, can't they cover better than that?" You know, stuff like that. She's gone from nothing to really. I can talk to her about football really well, really discuss what's going on, and she'll see it in plays like that. But she loves kids. When we did FCA back in the early days, they were divided. Girls FCA, boys FCA. She had the girls FCA groups. She would be in charge of that. I'd go to a coaching clinic. She'd have a girls sleepover at the house. The high school girls in Rockville that went to FCA, she'd have them all over at the house, spend the night. She didn't want to be by herself. So the FCA girls would have sleepovers. They'd bring their blankets and sleep bags. So she's been a part of the FCA camp. Kids over the house. My son, my daughter's a cheerleader. My son played for us. Mm-hmm. All their buddies are in. The players. She's always interacted really well with the players. Mm-hmm. And special things we would do. She was always right in on it. So she's been a person that has made coaching fun. She's was an elementary school teacher. Get off early. She'd have a lawn chair in the car before Kyle and Kelly were born. She'd bring the lawn chair over there at 71st and sit it down on the side and watch practice. And then, get to know the boys. The guys would see us. Hey, Miss Boss. Hey, Miss, they run by and she'd get to know her. You know how that goes. And I remember coming home. This is a true story now. Came home and we had kind of a little wrinkle in a play, and I just knew it would work. It would get us. The corner would bite. We set it up perfect, and we ran it in the game. The kid is wide open. Freddie, if you're listening, I'm sorry, but you dropped the daggone ball. We worked on it all week in practice. You dropped it. We still won. And I got home and I told her, I said, Luann, could you believe Freddie dropped that pass in the end zone? She goes, yeah. Oh, what? Yeah. What do you mean, yeah, you believe he dropped it? He says, hey, dummy, he didn't catch it in practice. Why'd you think he'd catch it in the game? he dropped it.
That is a coach's wife.
Yeah, she is paying attention.
She has been transformed.
She said, he don't catch it in practice.
From not knowing football to saying, look, I've been watching Freddie in practice. He shouldn't have threw the ball.
Yeah. and then when the kids got bigger, she'd come to practice. And she'd be over on the sideline, and at Reynolds, the dads all love practice. I mean, I'd go out there, there'd be like 25 dads watching practice after school. They take off work or whatever. There was always a pile of men out there to practice. Former players were practicing. There was a bunch of them out there. And Luann's always swinging by at least once or twice a week. And I was getting a little too big for my britches. I went by, running by where we were practicing. I went by her and said, hey, aren't you supposed to be home cooking dinner?
Uh-oh.
Like just tongue in cheek. I'm just playing with her.
I know.
I'm just playing with her. Just because she loves practice, and I don't mind her being there. So all those dads are looking like.
What's
and then
she
goes, you better get a win, or there ain't gonna be no dinner. and they're all clapping for her. They're all clapping for her. You give it to him, Luann. Luann, you give it to him. You give it to him.
Shut it down.
So her personality, and she's a little girl. I mean, she's not a big woman, and she's a librarian, She's not her nature, but she loves football, and she loves the kids, and she do what you got to do to win. She never said, hey, what time you coming home? Mm-hmm. None of that stuff. You got to get your Saturdays. Back then we had the one film, 16 millimeter starting out. You got to all watch it together as coaches, and you watch them, the other team's film. You spend all weekend, Saturday and Sunday afternoons, grinding.
That's right.
There was never any if. She's always been, get it done.
That gave me Remember the Titans vibes. Just like how a family comes in, a high school coach, your team, how involved it is, and then you got the family, whether it be the kids or the wife, everybody's locked in.
Yeah, they locked in.
Locked into the coaching lifestyle.
It is. It's a family event. Very, very fortunate that, my kids love sports, and Kyle played linebacker on the '99 state championship team.
We were going to ask you that. What was it like raising a family?
Yeah. Well, around
football and
Kyle was a linebacker on the '99 state championship team.
That's a great memory.
My daughter was cheerleading. So we beat Bird, and after the game, since I had coached in Fayetteville, I knew Bobby Williford really well, the photographer for Bird. He said, hey, Bobby, get your family together. I want to get a picture. And I got a keepsake of me and Kyle and Kelly and Luann all together after the game.
Beautiful.
The state championship moment. Great. So family's good.
That photo was like a trophy. It's probably better than a trophy.
It hangs on the wall.
So, Coach, how does it feel when you hear from former players and reach out to you later in life?
Better than you know. Better than you'll ever know. Your buddy Kevin Wardlaw's been reaching out with me for 35, 40 years now. Quarterback.
Kevin, great guy.
Kevin is a class act. My first quarterback at Rockville. We're still in contact. He lives in South Charlotte. I get to keep up with him. I stole him out of Indiana State to come coach with me in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. He's double major, chemistry, PE, sharp as a tack. Started education consultant foundation firm. Was done highly successful with it, and we're still in contact with him. He was my first quarterback, and I got return text from Ben Johnson yesterday. Okay. So we're still in contact from the first to the last, and all those in between guys we're in touch with. Mm-hmm. Some of them are in coaching, and they'll chat in every now and then. They have a dilemma or something. They might check in with me.
Yeah.
But Facebook's meant a lot to keeping up with former students and players.
Right.
So it means a whole lot. It's rewarding.
The thing about that is, it just hit me now. It's kind of off base, but right on to where we are now in this moment. If you had to say anything to those guys right now, they're watching this, what would you say to them? Just like all of them collectively, what they've meant to you.
I only thought I loved them then. I love them more today than I did when I coached them. I mean, that first bunch up in Rockville, Indiana, they thought I was probably a good coach, but I wished I could have coached them 10, 15 years later, and maybe we would even did better than we did. But I value those relationships, and money can't buy them. They're not for sale,
Right.
and you can't buy them. So relationships, and I think a lot has to do because of Christ in my heart. Helps me love kids better than I normally would. I think it's a blessing that I think I would have loved them anyway, but it's just easier to do. Love some kids. You got to have Christ in your heart to love all of them. But
Trust me, I know.
You know.
I work with a lot of them.
you work with them.
So yeah.
But I even love those kids as much
those
today.
too.
The knuckleheads and the
When you hear
memories.
from them, I got one that texted me just Saturday. He was at Link Up in Atlanta at church. And I was like, dang, he went to church again without me telling him?
Yeah.
So I can appreciate that from Morgan. He reached out to you, just don't know how much I appreciate you. But it's stuff that we do, coaching, teaching, intentionally doing, brings out the best in kids.
It's that intentionality and the power of that love of Christ that you can pull out of yourself from places you didn't think you had, because you're not doing it from you, you're doing it from Christ. And that's that extra love you talk about for the hard heads.
What's the goal? The goal is to get home.
Get home.
Get back home.
Get back home.
Well, I'm glad we all got to share a lot of ball and memories, but what a blessing tonight for all of us to be able to be united in God's plan to bring us together.
Yes.
And to get a chance to share and honor Him.
That's what
What a blessing this thing turned out to be, huh?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it goes to Him. He gets all the glory.
Yes, he does.
He does.
When people talk about your career, you kind of voiced it. What do you want people to remember about Coach? Or the coach and the man?
It's I don't have that tombstone epitaph written,
Yeah.
I would like what we just shared about, that he was a man of God. He had faith. He shared it, and he wasn't ashamed of it. And that would be the best thing I would think I would want people to remember.
Faith, family, and football.
Can't get any better than that. When you say man of God, that speaks, if people really truly look at that, that speaks so much about your journey and your path. And thinking about the story you told earlier, coming out and wanting to be on fire for football, and then being blessed with being on fire for Christ.
So you've been inducted into multiple Hall of Fames. How does these things personally show what you were made of as a person?
You've got to respect and appreciate that people have recognized your success. And I don't think you should ever try to just shy away from being appreciative of that. At the same time, knowing circumstances and special people helps you achieve. In a team sport, your achievements represent those people that contributed to your success. The coaches that coached me, the teammates that played with me, the players that played for me, that performed, the coaches the moms and dads that encouraged their kids when they needed a chin up, because I wasn't the only one. You know, they got encouragement and help from the parents and some of the other parents that knew some of the kids didn't quite get that same help. I've seen those parents reach out to those kids too and say, hey, you know, I'm going to take little Billy out for after practice today. He said, Billy, why don't you invite Tommy to come join us? You know, because his mom and dad probably aren't going to take him out to eat. And I've seen parents do that, you know, add into your program. And I had parents, we talk about FCA, a lot of our FCA meetings were homes, family homes. When I got to Asheville, we met in homes. At 71st High School, we met in the gym. And one of my former players that I've been in contact with here and then from 71st, he says, Coach Poss, I know you used to bribe us to come to FCA. He says, and you know, and we were easy to bribe. A Hardee's hamburger, we'd stay after practice to come to FCA.
Oh yeah.
You know, and with our Hardee's, the reason it was great because I told the Hardee's manager, I said, look, I need a little help. I'm gonna have to buy hamburgers for a bunch of kids after practice to get them to stay at FCA. I said, can you cut me a deal? He says, 2 for 1, coach. You know, I said, hey, that's a deal.
That's a deal.
You know, and I'd go down there. I'd call from the school. I say, I need 30 hamburgers or whatever, you know. And so that kind of support like that. And Mike Coven says, Coach, you bribed us. You used to bribe us.
Mike Coven.
You know Mike Coven?
Yeah.
Mike Coven says, he says, Coach, you bribed us. You bribed us to come to FCA. I said, no, I didn't.
Good man of God, though.
Yeah, he has changed drastically.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. Some of these kids, you know, maybe weren't following the Lord back then, but you know, through their family and their relationships or an opportunity they had, all kind of seeds and watering and planting, all go together. Yeah, Coven's done real well. He's up in D.C.
Say, Coach, I want you to break it down to us. What does faith, family, and football mean to you? And how have those 3 pillars guided your life and legacy over the years?
Foster, we just spent 2 hours talking about it. If you ain't got it now, you ain't heard nothing. How's it guided me? How's it led me?
Yeah.
It has been, you know, I'm still alive. I'm still breathing.
That's it.
And I don't need to put it on my tombstone yet.
That's good
But
enough.
it has really been a reminiscent period for me to process great times and special blessings. So I didn't know how this thing would go, you know, when you start talking about it. But what a joy it's been to faith, family, and football have been all celebrated here tonight.
That's what it's all about.
Okay.
Coach, as we come to a close in today's conversation, we just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for showing us that football is not just about wins, trophies, or championships, but about shaping lives through your faith, your leadership, and your unwavering commitment to family. You've taught generations of athletes how to stand strong, how to lead with integrity, and how to serve others. The lessons you've poured into young men go far and beyond the field. They show up in homes, in communities, and in the way men now raise their own families. The example you've set continues to echo through future generations, reminding us that when coaching is rooted in faith and purpose, the impact lasts forever.
Thank you, Bill.
We love you, man.
Yeah, I love you guys.
Love you.
Good work, man.
What-
I appreciate it.
We love you.
This was great. This is good.